Good morning, everybody. I decided to do this Wings of Fire video because as I've been finding a few issues with the new books coming out, particularly when it comes to the character of Clearsight. As of the time of this video here, the next book in the series, Poison Jungle, I believe that's what it's called, has yet to come out. It's still a few months away. However, this critique / theory video, is just my thoughts and some of my headcanon and all that. Anyway, let's go on. I have recently read through the last Wings of Fire book. The what was that one called? The Hive Queen, I think it is. I think that one was called. Which I personally found to be a significantly better book in comparison to the one to just before that. However, what I've been finding with these new books here, that I can't help but feel that they're ruining the character of Clearsight. And mainly because every time she seems to come up in that, it's not exactly consistent with the character that we know from the book Darkstalker, my personal favorite of the series. Mainly because every time she comes up or they talk about her and that, it just, it seems like she's been given a way too happy ending. And this is a character who has spent virtually the entirety of her life preventing in a dark future, at great cost of herself, from happening, only to have it all literally blew up and epically fail, at it, and the boot, this failure not only cost her love, which was Darkstalker himself, but her family in the form of her children by effectively wiping them out from existence. Period. And from how they keep on talking about her in the new books here, they keep on saying that she had a very happy life at the end, which, even though Clearsight is one of my personal favorite characters, my favorite character being Darkstalker himself, I find that she had a way too happy of ending, and from everything that we know of this character so far, that's not consistent at all. Because, after you failed that epically in preventing a dark future, you've virtually spent the entirety of your life costing your children and your love and that, and in so doing so, betraying the one you loved, and everything, and that tends to leave some deep mental scarring, and it's not exactly something one just gets over, especially when you learn throughout the book Darkstalker here, you learn that she and Darkstalker do spend quite a considerable amount of time looking into the future of their children, or would have been children, and to the point where Clearsight had a very motherly affection for them before they were even born, to the point where she basically experienced their entire lifetimes to them. And when she betrayed Darkstalker and sealed them away, she effectively, in a word, killed them before they even had an opportunity to even exist. She even saw them with their grandchildren and all that. And for someone to do something like that, mental scarring is basically inevitable. Clearsight, in my opinion, is a very tragic character. She's a character that, in my opinion, that after the book of Darkstalker, in my own personal headcanon, was a character that just went insane afterwards from, sheer guilt. And to make matters worse, Here she effectively abandoned her own tribe to a volcanic island, which would cost them and much of their magical powers on that, which they will eventually get away from, and suffer a near extinction event, and on that island. And many the Nightwings that went there were some of her closest friends and family members, and she just left them to the Lost Continent, and apparently lived out her life in literal paradise. I don't know about you, but that would leave one feeling rather kind of guilty. And if it didn't, well, yeah, as you can see, it would wreck her character quite considerably by making her seem incredibly selfish-ish, self-absorbed, and all that. And what's worse, in the new land, Pantella, she's basically worshipped as a god deity. And Clearsight was a character that didn't want to be queen originally, and yet here she is in this new content, effectively as Jesus Christ, pretty much. That's in every sense of the word. She's basically considered to be God over there on the continent Pantella, which is not consistent with the character that we know so far, or at all. Oh, and each time that she keeps coming up in conversation in the book, she keeps on saying, and they keep on saying that she's had a very happy life and had loads and loads and loads of children for some reason, to the point where she literally birthed a whole nother tribe, which brings up the question of inbreeding. And that very tribe turns into basically what Darkstalker basically became. And this tribe has been doing this stuff for quite some time, something she would have foreseen. Even though they say that her last visions lasted was about 200 years after her death, but even at that, but according to the books, it was roughly around that very same period of time where the Hivewing tribe became what become a rather dictatorship, brutal hive mind dictatorship. That eventually, 50 years before the current timeline, they attempted a flat-out genocide, something that Darkstalker himself tried to do. And Clearsight would probably most definitely they would have been aware of this fact. In fact, a lot of the things they keep on mentioning about Clearsight is not exactly consistent with her character. In fact, they seem to be almost too happy, too perfect. Almost like it's really covering for a much darker backstory. Which, in my personal opinion, I don't think Clearsight had a happy ending. In fact, her ending was pretty much anything but happy. As I stated before, I generally believe that Clearsight literally went insane from guilt. Hell, and her trying to help these tribes was not just a symptom of that, but in a sense would probably made her felt even more guilty, realizing that she probably, at some point, she probably could have used that to help her own tribe. And, well, as we know from the prior books in the past, as the Nightwing tribe on that volcanic island wasn't in as a particularly fun time. To the point where it actually traumatized the entire species, with the exception of Moonwatcher, who had the good fortune to be raised in the leafling jungle. I forgot what that jungle's name was. But in the Leafwing Kingdom. And at the end of the last book here, Moonwatcher even said that those tribes were coming over to Paria. Now, for those that you probably guessed already, when the Nightwings hear what happened to Clearsight and how wonderful a life that she had and everything, and the Nightwings will start having a rather dim view of her after that. Like, seriously, like you've been living in hell for literal generations, and all the while the dragon who you thought was your great savior and that went away, literally abandoning in you friends and family and those her closest friends and all that to live if in absolute paradise. Well, all her friends and family members basically lived in literal hell. Yeah, that's not going to go over well. Period. and I think, judging and by that last statement there, yeah, I think we're gonna get more books after the 15th one and the quote unquote prequel one afterwards. I think we may see another series, probably going up to probably roughly around 20 books instead of 15, the known 15 that we're expecting. And the boot, there are quite a few hints, actually more than a few hints throughout the new books, suggesting that the hive wing queen isn't the main evil. I don't think that Queen Wasp is the main villain, but the starting villain, because in the prior books, they usually show one character who's clearly villainous. Like in the first season, it was Queen Scarlet and Blister, who were the initial villains. And it's only to realize is I think her name was Blaze, is the middle sister of the three warring sisters, as being the true villain of the series. Then in the second one, it was initially thought that Queen Scarlet was the main villain of the second season, only to be revealed to be Darkstalker himself. Of that. And I believe it's going to be the same sort of thing here. And I think that Queen Wasp is mainly just as the starting villain of this particular season, and that the real villain of the series is going to be revealed in the upcoming Poison Jungle book very soon here, because as by the end of the Hive Queen in book, not only have they basically destroyed this plant, and that allows Queen Wasp to apparently control everybody, but they say they have a possible cure for everyone who already has been affected by it. However, the plant theory starts losing water when you kind of look at the hive mind and power thing and go a little closer. Supposedly, as I said in the book here, when Queen Wasp goes to all the different nests, as he injects them with this poison made from his poisonous plant, and this somehow gives her telepathy for some reason. Telepathy that allows her to control dragons from basically all across the continent of Pentella, and possibly even further. Which is in and of itself not very consistent, or doesn't make any real sense. In fact, when the first time you see it happen in the book series, let's be honest, everyone, we all thought magic when it happened, and we have already seen in many Amulet's Touch objects, aka magic objects, have much similar powers and abilities. Is not only that, this hive mind thing is not always on consistently. In fact, there's really only one dragon that's established in the book that is on quite consistently, and that's the librarian who watches the Book of Clearsight, which that in itself does not entirely match up with Clearsight's character in itself. But anyway, in fact, this power seems to come off and on at will, even though the poison idea would suggest that they're always hive-minded. Yeah, not exactly overly consistent. and, and for some reason this point drug is so powerful, it's able to control everyone via basically like drug mind control. Now, despite that, everything that we've seen the hive mind powers do so far isn't consistent with that at all. No, in fact, it's far more consistent with an anomalous touch object, which brings me to my upcoming theory here, which I'm going to get into very soon, of who this is, who the real villain of the series is. In fact, by the end of the second book here, the quote-unquote heroes are in a relatively powerful position, even though technically a war basically started and they're not much better than they were before, but they have dealt quite a severe blow to the quote-unquote main villain of the books. And in the prophecy that you hear at the start of just about every book series is in every book. They keep on talking about it talks about a great evil. Now this is great evil. The book that the prophecy is supposed it talks about cannot be defeated by one tribe alone. It has to be everyone united. And this evil could be one of two things. A, this main villain that I'm about to get into, or B, Darkstalker himself. Which I'm going to get into a little later. But, I think it's mainly going to be the main villain they're talking about here. Which, here's my theory of who this villain is. Even though that, according to many sites and that, they say there's no ominous dragons that we know of in Pentella, or those who are, hive wings, leaf wings, wings, or silk wings. Yeah, that's what they were called. And in my opinion, and I think the main villain of the series was brought to Pentella when Clearsight did. It traveled to Pentella herself. And my theory, and how was this so? Well, in my personal theory and opinion, when Clearsight crossed the ocean to Pentella, she was pregnant with Darkstalker's child. And that her firstborn was as a child of Darkstalkers, who not only possessed as the future sight abilities of both her mother and father, but the mind reading abilities and worst of all, the ominous powers of the child's father. Now, in my own personal headcanon, I always consider this child to be the daughter of Darkstalker and Clearsight instead of a son, and mainly because if it was a son, it would be effectively Darkstalker 2.0. Though, even though the daughter is technically a Darkstalker 2.0, just female version. But I kind of find, I kind of like the idea of a Darkstalker having a daughter because she would represent a bit more of a greater threat to everyone than she realized, and far more likely to become queen of the Nightwings. And in this universe, queens basically have all the power. Well, there is, no real king until, Darkstalker, and that didn't last long. Well, anyway, I'll go into it. And what I think happened is that when Clearsight crossed the ocean, she was pregnant with Darkstalker's child, or daughter here, and realizing that this child had ominous powers, and basically everything that Darkstalker had, and she pretty much freaked out and did pretty much everything in her power to prevent her from becoming like her father. With the great irony is that all of her efforts only ensured that that her daughter basically turned in exactly like her father, being rather power hungry, gay, and that, and being incredibly powerful and that, and using her mind reading abilities, was able to extract many of the spells from Clearsight's mind that she saw through Darkstalker's scroll, which, keep in mind, in the Darkstalker book, she had a good solid look at that. At Darkstalker's scroll that he uses magic powers on, and a character could easily use that that memory to recreate the spells that that Darkstalker had used there. And they know that there are magic spells that prevent one from seeing the future or even caring about how those who they see. It'd be a turtle there, another Amethyst dragon, who basically hid himself from Darkstalker, even though he was literally right in front of him. Allowing this character to basically operate in the shadows without Clearsight coming up with any effective way to stop this new villain. New villain / her daughter. That's who I think is the main villain of the this current season, and it's really the child of Darkstalker and Clearsight. And this main villain has been the one behind pretty much everything, from the mind reading powers to the Hive-Wings becoming, well, what they are in an effort to destroy everything and her mother created. And I can easily see him going down this path and having this character view Clearsight with quite a bit of disdain, and by calling Clearsight a traitor to not only her tribe, her friends and family, but to her father as well. Which would be pretty much the main motivating factor of this villain, and hating Clearsight so much. And when he learns that her father was still alive, there she goes and basically returns Darkstalker, which is one way how Darkstalker could return. And I know what some of you are saying, and that if this character was Amethyst, how come she wasn't summoned into him when Darkstalker summoned everybody? Every Amethyst to him during, and I think it was the second last book of the last season. Yeah, it wasn't the last one, I think. I can't remember what that one was called. But what I find, which I think what happened, and there, like, Darkstalker previously put a spell on himself to prevent and other Amethyst dragons from using magic against him. This could be the exact same scenario here. How that character avoided being summoned to Darkstalker himself. This character just simply casted basically the same kind of spell, preventing any other magic affecting her. And that's how she wasn't summoned. And, well, anyway, that's kind of my theory and headcanon and on who the main villain would be. As for Darkstalker himself, well, I think I speak for a significantly large portion of the fandom when I say how his character arc was quote-unquote ended was pretty darn crappy. You've seen how throughout the second season, and they're basically establishing just how terrible it is to change someone, whoever it is, from whoever they are into whoever it is you want, and basically forcing this decision on to Darkstalker can make all the heroes look like a bunch of freaking hypocrites. It's, in fact, from a lot of the fan art and stuff, but the scene which basically showed of Darkstalker basically choosing to have a new life and moving on instead of being forced into it, or in this case tricked into it, and then forced into it. And that ending wasn't a particularly wonderful one. Also, I find that there's a lot more they can do with the character of Darkstalker. Because I think, there's, that the character of Darkstalker, in my personal opinion, kind of deserves what one would call a redemption arc. Maybe you could argue about that. Yeah, but in my opinion, I think there's far more that could be done with the character of Darkstalker instead of just blatantly ending the story. I think there's more to be told with him, than really any other character. And it would make it quite an interesting arc having and Darkstalker go through a bit of a redemption arc, even though some would argue that and what he is right now would be his redemption, though. Well, let's be honest, that's not truly Darkstalker. And plus, it was not even his own choice; it was forced upon him. And seeing Darkstalker willingly choosing to change his life for the better instead of being forced into it. Well, yeah, as you can see right there. Yeah. And Darkstalker can actually be returned in 1 to 2 to 3 ways. One I mentioned, my theory that the main villain comes back to bring Darkstalker back. B, those sheets of paper that was used to turn him into Peacemaker right now. L is still around. And can be used to reverse the spell that was placed on him to become Peacemaker. Or B, someone makes the mistake in giving Peacemaker one of the anti-Darkstalker magic earrings things, and effectively negating the spell, returning Darkstalker to what he was, even though he would be mortal at that point. But well, he'd be back, and it probably would not take him very long to get around that little problem. Anyway, that's kind of how I see, how that be going, and how Darkstalker can actually return, and quite easily, in fact, back, attack, and everything. Anyway, these are kind of some of my thoughts. It's what's gonna come in the coming books here. If you enjoy it, you can share it or talk about it with your other friends in the Wings of Fire fandom community. But these are kind of my thoughts and my personal headcanon, and where I think the series may go. Though, I have been proven quite hilariously wrong before. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.